This question asks us to perform several conversions between units. The units mentioned here are fictional, but the principles that we'll use to do the conversions would be the same as they would be for any other type of unit. So in the same way that meters and feet and yards all measure distances, these quantities sheg, chab, stot, wid, thuz, and bruck all measure the same type of quantity. We just don't know what that quantity is. But like I said, it doesn't really matter what it is. Let's try the first one. First one says we're trying to convert 1.33 bruck to the unit of sheg. So you want to look in the equivalencies and try to find a pathway for getting from one unit to another. If we had a direct conversion between bruck and sheg, then it would be just a one-step conversion, where we would put what we have on the left and what we want on the right. So the thing that we have is the thing they're asking us to convert. That's the 1.33 bruck. And then we would put the desired unit, which is sheg, on the right. If there was a single conversion between these two, then we would put the bruck down below and the sheg above. That way the bruck would cancel and the sheg would remain. But we would need to know the numbers that are associated with that conversion. The problem here is there is no direct conversion given between bruck and sheg. So we're actually going to have to go through several intermediate steps to get from bruck to the desired unit of sheg. Alright, so let's change the flowchart then. It may take several steps to get from bruck all the way to sheg. There's only really one conversion given here that involves bruck. It tells us that we could go to thuz from bruck. So that's going to be like an intermediate step. I'm going to go from the bruck there to the unit of thuz. And then once I'm at thuz, I could now go next to the unit called wid, according to the chart, because we have thuz here and we have a conversion between thuz and wid. Now that I'm at wid, I could now go to the unit of stot. And next I'll go to the unit called chab. At that point, I can finally get to my desired unit, which is sheg. So this problem requires 5 conversion factors. Let's write out all our conversion factors as fractions. Okay, so the first step is going from bruck to thuz. We want to cancel bruck, so let's put that down below here. And we'll put the unit that we're going to, which is thuz, above. So we started with bruck, and we're going to thuz first. I have to use the units that are given in the equivalency. 1.15 goes with bruck, and 5.93 goes with thuz. Okay, next we see that we want to go from thuz to wid. And according to this row right here, 9.67 thus is equivalent to 3.5 wid. So the brucks cancel, the thus will cancel, and now we're here at wid. We want to go to the next step, which is stot. So let's put wid down below and stot above. Now we're going to be looking at this conversion. I need to take the 9.22 and put that with wid. And I'll take the 4.67 and put that with stot. Now the wid cancels and we're at stot, which is here. We'd like to go to the next step, which is chab. So I'll put stot down below and chab above. I'll now use this conversion factor. And now we're going to do the last step. We're going to go from chab to sheg. So now we are here. Okay, that'll do it. We've now canceled off all of the undesirable units and only sheg remains. That is our goal. So now we just have to go to calculator and get an answer here. When you're calculating these, you can multiply all the top quantities times each other. And then we can divide by all the denominators. So anybody who's above gets multiplied. Anybody who's below gets divided. Final answer looks like 1.40. And so that's what I'll put here. Let's check it with the program. The program agrees. Okay, our next problem here is to convert 4.99 chab squared to wid squared. So let's write down what we have on the left. And then what we want on the right. Okay, this is also going to require conversion factors. I'll make a plan. I'm going to start with the chab squared. And I'll see if there's a direct conversion between chab and wid in the chart. Unfortunately, we don't have a direct conversion. But what we can do is we can go from chab to stot and then from stot to wid. So it'll require 2 steps. So let's put stot squared in between the chab squared and wid squared. Okay, so it's going to require 2 conversion factors this time because there are 2 steps in the flowchart. Let's put the chab down below first because we'd like to cancel that. and create stat. I'm going to use the numbers that are associated with chab and stat in the chart. So 2.83 goes with 7.70. However, this conversion is not enough to completely cancel with the chab squared. Because you have chab squared, you basically have chab times chab. That's two chabs that need to be canceled. Down below, I have only one chab, so if I was to do this, I would actually only be canceling the square part of it, and we would still have a chab remaining, which we don't want. So what we're going to do is square the conversion factor to take into account that the unit is squared. Now the chabs will completely cancel, and the square is going to apply to the 7.7 and the 2.83. So now we've gotten rid of chab squared, and we're at stat squared. Next step will be to get rid of the stat squared. So let's put stat down below, and we'll put the desired unit of wid above. But once again, we have to cancel stat squared, so we need to square this conversion factor as well. That'll also help us create the desired unit, which is wid squared. Okay, so let's use the units that are associated with that conversion. .22 goes with wid, 4.67 goes with stat. You don't have to square the 4.99, that's a common error. The square there is only applying to the unit, not the number. But when it comes to the conversion factors, there the square actually does apply to the number. So you have an option. You could just write the conversion factor and put it in parentheses and then square that factor just like it appears on the page. You could also, if you wanted, square the individual numbers, 770 and the 2.83. I'll show both methods. This would be squaring the conversion factors. I get 143 or 144. Another way of entering it would be to square the individual numbers. You get the same answer either way. Okay, let's check that with the program. Okay, program accepts. Next, we're asked to convert 7.8 chab cubed to bruck cubed. This is going to be similar to the one I just did. However, this time we have to go a little bit farther. We can go from chab cubed to stat cubed, and then stat cubed to wid cubed to thus cubed, and then finally thus cubed to bruck cubed. It's going to require 4 conversion factors. Okay, so let's start with the 7.8 chab cubed. Our ultimate goal is to get to bruck cubed. We're going to introduce several conversions, 4 of them to be exact. We'll get rid of chab first and then produce stat. And we need to cube that factor. Then we'll get rid of the stat cubed and produce wid cubed next and cube that factor. Next, let's eliminate wid cubed and go to thus cubed. And then we'll get rid of thus cubed. And we'll go to bruck cubed. Okay, that'll do it. Let's enter it into calculator. I get 186. Next, we're asked to convert a rate, which is a fraction of units. We're going to be going from stat cubed over wid squared, and we want to go to just sheg. So this is what we have. This is what we want. Since we're being asked just for a single unit with no denominator, it could be a good idea to eliminate the denominator first by converting it from wid squared into stat squared. This will allow us to have the stat squared that's down below cancel with the stats that are above. So I'm actually going to put the wid on top this time because we want wid below to cancel with wid above. And let's see if we can go directly from wid to stat. Right here, we'll be able to go from wid to stat. So 9.22 goes with 4.67. Now we have wid squared below, so we are going to have to square this conversion factor so that our wid squared here will cancel with two wids above. This is going to give us stat cubed over stat squared. Of course, stat cubed over stat squared would be stat. So at this point, that's what all this will represent, a unit of stat. So we ultimately now need to go from stat to sheg. And according to the equivalencies that are given, that will require 2 steps. We'll go to chab, and then we can go to sheg. So all of this is the unit of stat. Let's now introduce a conversion factor to take us from stat to the next step, which would be chab. Stat and chab have the numbers 770 and 283. And we're going to now have just one more factor. Put chab down below and sheg above. .82 goes with 8.54. At this time, the 3 stats will cancel with 3 stats that are below. You have 2 stats here because of the square, and then 1 stat there. All the stats will now cancel. The chabs will cancel, and we're left with just sheg. I get 42.3. Okay, last part of this is to convert chab squared over thuz cubed to sheg squared over bruck cubed. That's converting a rate to a rate. Okay, so I'm going to first try to convert the denominator units of thuz cubed to bruck cubed. That's going to require a conversion factor all on its own, where I put the thuz above, and hopefully if the conversion exists on the list, we'll go straight from thuz to bruck here. Luckily, that conversion is here, so that makes it easier. Let's put 1.15 with 5.93. And since we have a cubed unit below, we're going to need to cube this factor. That takes care of the denominator units. So those are all set. We have bruck cubed now, which is what we need. And now we just have to convert the numerator units. We're going from chab to sheg. That'll just require 1 conversion factor. So let's put the chab down below and the sheg above. 2.82 goes with 8.54. We're going to need to square this conversion factor so that we cancel both the chabs there, and that should do it. Now we'll have sheg squared on top, and we'll have bruck cubed on bottom. $28.40. The original quantity had 3 significant figures, so I'm going to give 3 significant figures in my answer as well.